Oh, right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live. We almost had a serious technical difficulty there. Let me know in the chat over on YouTube if you can see and hear me, because that was not a good error message. Also, I'm live over here over on TikTok as well. Today, we're going to be doing another Q&A similar to last week, which was a lot of fun. I found it really fun. Hello. Okay, I see people saying hey. Let me know in the chat if you can see. Oh, perfect. Thanks, guys. You're the best. Love it. I always need your confirmation. um, oh, right. Hello, everybody. So today we're doing another Q&A. It's blurry. I don't know what to do about that. Okay, because there's really no way to adjust this. Oh, okay, sure. I feel like that's more blurry. Okay, anyway, hello, everybody. Great. Okay, so today we're going to be doing another Q&A similar to last week, but I would like to do more so on the topic of dimensions and consciousness. But if anyone wants to ask about other things, then I'm open to answer that. So right before I started, Little Bird asked, Jen said she is writing a movie about a woman who saved the world. I wonder if she knows the story of the Peruvian woman who saved the world using a sacred grid of the earth in 1989. I don't know anything about it. You can DM me and let me know where that information came from, because that's really interesting. Because as I mentioned, is that, the movie idea came to me over the course of 2020. Throughout the whole entire summer, I had been meditating, and in all of my meditations, I was getting bits and pieces of this story about this Peruvian woman. So, and it was amazing. And like I said, when I had originally mentioned that in my YouTube video, that there's no way that this was like coming from me, and I felt like it was really someone's story. So I would love to know where that information's coming from. Oh, cool. Watching from work. Hello, everybody. Oh, thanks, everybody. So if anyone has any questions, the topic today will be about dimensions and consciousness, but really any questions that are coming in, I'm open to answer. Also, one of the questions that was asked before I came on was, has this ayahuasca experience changed any of my beliefs in regards to consciousness or dimensions? It actually confirmed my belief of dimensions, even more so, that all the dimensions are here. It's all in one place. And we're just perceiving one level of it, but that the other beings are here as well. And they're just perceiving a different level of it. It actually confirmed that more. And it does confirm my feelings of consciousness, but it actually made it clearer to me, the concept of oneness. So oneness I understood as a concept, but it wasn't really until experiencing that I really fully get what the oneness was. Like, I understood it in my mind, but I feel like it just wasn't as clear. How many dimensions are there, and which dimensions do aliens exist on? And which dimension do souls exist in? Okay. Well, we don't know how many of all the dimensions will be. As far as I am aware of, scientifically, they say that there's 11 dimensions based on M theory and string theory, right? And then based on the spiritual side of things, I've seen from sources that I trust that there's 12 dimensions. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, especially a lot of people will channel 25D, 90D, 100D. I don't know what that means. And also, personally, my interpretation of dimensions, I can only understand up to 6D. After 6th dimension, I don't really have a clear concept of what that would be. Okay, someone asked, are we on the path to the new earth? Oh, I for sure believe so. Because what that is basically the raising of human consciousness up to the level that now, okay, so we'll do a little rundown very quickly of dimensions. So everything is here, but we are like a radio receiver. So, radio stations are playing all types of music and talk radio and all of this stuff. And those waves are in the air because everything is waves. Light is waves, sound is waves. Everything that we're experiencing is waves. And if light and sound weren't waves or weren't in space, like this empty space around us is not empty. We perceive it as empty, but if it was actually empty, it would be completely pitch black. It's actually filled with waves of light and waves of sound. So within those waves are other types of waves, microwaves and all of these other things, not just from the microwave, but other things create microwaves too, like cell phones. So sound waves, they're traveling around. Radio waves. Okay, so there's all different radio waves in the air around us, but we can't just hear it. We need to use a receiver. And when we use a receiver, we can turn to that station. So you can turn to, the only station I know is 95.5, which is the classic rock station. So you turn to 95.5. However, what's playing on 101.5 and 103.5 still exist, but we can't hear it because we're not tuned to that station. So if you view each human or human consciousness altogether, humanity as a collective, we are at the station of the third dimension. So we can perceive the third dimension. Now, sometimes when you're listening to the radio, you'll get a little bit of interference from another station. Like you'll kind of hear some static from something else, or maybe you'll hear a little bit of another song and it'll kind of cut out again. That is what happens when we see UFOs or ghosts. If you see a ghost, some people are able to see ghosts. Now, people that are able to see ghosts, what it is similar to that interference on a radio station, where they're just kind of getting a little bit of another station interference. They can just a little bit see, and that's them seeing slightly into the fourth dimension. And someone said over here, Haley said she saw an orb. An orb is a great example also. People seeing an orb. Now, I actually do have an apple. I should have prepared and got it because an apple is always necessary when you're talking about dimensions. Okay, let me grab it. Because when you're talking about dimensions, you must talk about the apple, just as Carl Sagan taught us. So in the third dimension, this is an apple. However, in the second dimension, 2D is a flat plane. So imagine this flat plane. So we have a 3D apple, but when a 3D apple comes to a two-dimensional plane, they don't see a flattened out picture of an apple. They see only the points of contact. So we see on the bottom of this that there's 3 or 4 parts that are higher than the others. So those 3 or 4 points make contact and just are 3 or 4 dots that will appear and disappear. They won't see a flattened version of the apple. So sometimes when we're seeing orbs or even stars in the sky, now we believe stars are similar to our sun. And they might probably are, but we're not. Have we really truly figured out exactly what these things are? Maybe not. Because if a second dimensional being sees this apple as only 4 or so dots because it's only the points of contact with its dimension, then when we look up at the stars, the same thing could be happening. So we could see a clusters of stars, like say the Pleiades star system, right? So the Pleiades star system is a cluster of 7 stars. So when we see these 7 stars, does that mean that those are 7 individual stars, or could it be a higher dimensional being? Oh, sorry, that's the ugly side of the apple. A higher dimensional being, and it just has 7 points of contact, you know? I had the apple ready to go. I had to go get the apple, but I'm glad for once I had one. Hello, everybody. Okay, so Elizabeth is asking over here on TikTok. She said, did your ayahuasca experience change anything you learned from your soul series? Now, I don't think that it did. So now to recap a little bit on the soul series, I think that so the soul series talks about reincarnation and how basically reincarnation, you choose your soul before coming here, you choose your life lessons. We're learning all of these things for our soul's evolution. Now, I actually feel that it even more so confirmed the soul series for me, because now, if you remember, in one part of the soul series, we talk about like the birth of a new soul. So this also does come back to dimensions here. So basically, when they talked about the birth of a soul, they would say, okay, so we have levels of consciousness directly correlate with dimensions. So when you're at a certain level of consciousness, you are able to perceive, you become that radio station. So we're at this level of consciousness, we are able to tune into the 3rd dimension radio station. People start to raise their consciousness, become more aware, they might become more psychic, and they could start to tune into the 4th level of the 4th dimension. And let's, for the sake of this, call it the 4th level of consciousness. But of course, all of these numbers are literally just markers for us to communicate. That doesn't mean this is what they actually are called outside of our perception. These are just markers, the way that I'd be like, okay, that's 1, 2, 3. You know, if you're picking a team for something, you're group 1, you're group 2, you're group 3. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be number 2 for the rest of your life. It's just a marker for us to describe. So, okay, so you'll be at the original source. The original 1st dimension is all of the source consciousness, where it's all one. The 2nd level is where duality comes. And we also have things that are sometimes considered the 2nd level of consciousness, are within our realm, within our understanding, would be sometimes like elemental energies, which would be the elements. You know, some people consider it at the 1st, some people consider it at the 2nd. That's what I'm saying, is that these are just ways for us to communicate. Now, they say that use animals and plants and minerals, for example. So say the ocean, the element of water, that is one consciousness. You could take a cup out of the ocean. It is still the ocean. It's not an individual soul. It's not an individual part of consciousness. You have a plant. A plant is a hive consciousness. So they say that plants will be a hive consciousness. Animals are hive consciousness. However, when you start to individualize an animal, it will break off from that hive. So basically, you know, dogs are at a level of consciousness altogether, or certain breeds of dogs are one hive mind. This is why, you know, you have a connection to German Shepherds. Every single German Shepherd you meet after that, you love, and it immediately seems like it likes you. Like certain breeds of dogs are just also more drawn towards you. The way that you're more drawn towards them is because you've already made a connection, a meaningful connection to that hive consciousness. Now, the way that people treat their animals today. So animals today are treated like children, like human children. They're, you know, very individualized, very personified. So what happens is that they become individual and they start to break off from this hive and become, I am, I am Spot the dog. Oh my God. It's not just a part of a hive anymore. It becomes an individual. It gets an individual identity. I like wet food instead of dry food. It starts to become individualized. So this is why, we look at that concept with animals. This is why I still do believe in all of the stuff from the Soul series, because we have the oneness, this one source. Why is my finger so crooked? The one source. And then from there, we started to break off from the one when we as individuals started to become I am. So an individual soul is just a container for one aspect of consciousness. So we are still one. And this explains the reason why we would want to learn and explore, because the one, the observer, wants to experience these different things. So we break off and become I am, and then we live this type of life and then this type of life. And in one life, we're the good guy. The next life, we're the bad guy. Sorry to break it to everyone who thinks they were never a bad person in any of their lifetimes and wants to crucify every single bad mistake. But we've all been bad in our past lifetimes, and probably even to a degree in this lifetime as well. So you break off and you live all of these different lives. You live as a man, you live as a woman, you live as this, you live as that. You have, a lot of wealth, you have poverty, you have, something where you harmed someone, you have another life where they harmed you. And you go on and on and on with this existence. And when you reach these different levels of consciousness, then you won't have to incarnate maybe in the earth school anymore. You'll go up to the next level, and maybe you live in a different level of consciousness. Now, what someone was asking before, where are the aliens and where are souls? Now, these, with the soul thing, my belief, I haven't seen this really confirmed in any of my books, because a lot of them, the stuff that I've referenced, a lot of them don't get that much into the dimensions as much. They get into the levels of consciousness. But I believe that it is not really a single dimension, this kind of point between lives where you would go to between incarnations. I feel like it's kind of between dimensions in a way. It's almost like a contained area. And now certain beings create that area. So that's why we have, all of these beings that we hear about on the other side, these helpers of the Akashic records, or, these spirit guides or these councils. Their consciousness is helping to shape this afterlife. So they create this space in the afterlife for souls to have an easier transition between each life. Where are the aliens? They're on all different dimensions. I mean, some of the lower level aliens, like the lower levels of consciousness, like grays, or some people say reptilians. We don't know that for sure, but we do know that like something like grays are spending a lot of time in the fourth dimension, or can come into the fourth dimension easily. Now, we know that things like Pleiadians have claimed that they're in the fifth dimension. We know that things like Arcturians have said stuff like they're in the sixth. We've had all different types of numbers get thrown around. So then the same way that humans, their level of evolution, their level of consciousness evolution is in the third dimension, other beings are going to have their levels in the fourth or the fifth or whatever it is. But then coming back, they'll still be able to live as other beings. The same way that we will be aliens in different lifetimes, aliens will be different things in lifetimes too. So like, people talk about the grays. It's the same thing as like humans. We're not going to be humans in every single lifetime. Someone over here on TikTok is asking to address the prison planet stuff. So I'm not really a fan of this concept of the prison planet. I did get scared shitless about it when I first learned about it. But as my understanding has grown, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the prison planet stuff. Now, I do think that there is manipulation of karma. I do believe that there's certain beings that cause more negative karma, or certain aspects of consciousness that will cause more negative karma. But then, and that might make someone have to live more lives on Earth. For example, we hear this stuff about reptilians and how they basically do all these horrible things. Okay. Now, having these horrible things done to a person might cause them to have trauma, which is then unhealed. So then when they go back to the spirit world and it's time for their next life, they didn't get to learn the lesson because they were too traumatized. So now they're like, damn it, I still need to learn that lesson. So I'm going to go back and try again. Now, that is what I believe to be the closest thing to what people call prison planet. People saying that there's a white light soul trap, I just don't believe it, because the way that I perceive this white light soul trap, and this was actually one of the videos that I was going to post in the Ultra Tactic show. And as you guys know, we're not going to do that anymore. I'm not doing that show anymore. And also I'm glad for multiple reasons, but one of them is definitely, I don't like that. I wanted to do like a little debate about the white light soul trap. And in general, I'm just still not convinced. I've seen people bring up the Gnostics, bring up the Archons, bring up all of this stuff, but I still have not seen anything that's convincing. If that's the case, then why is there thousands of people who Dolores Cannon put under, Michael Newton put under, Brian Weiss put under, every single QHHT practitioner, every single person that was trained in all of these levels of hypnosis, all different styles of hypnosis, not one person is under and it's like, oh my God, it's a fucking trap. Not one person has said that. People do claim that it's a trap from an NDE, but an NDE is not really, a lot of people don't. Most people who've had NDEs don't claim that it's a trap. A very small group of people do. So my perception of people calling it a white light soul trap, in which anyone watching that doesn't know that topic, that basically they claim don't go into the light when you die. That basically going into the light is a trap. So then you get stuck back in the reincarnation cycle. Me personally, oh no, I'm going to go probably into that light. Just saying. Because what's the option? Getting stuck in the fourth dimension? I don't want to be in the fourth dimension like that movie Risk Cutters. So that's like the dead side of this dimension. So Ian, you too, same here. You're like, I'm not going to get stuck. So one thing that I see as the white light soul trap, maybe one of the reasons why people believe that, is their own perception. So like, say, for example, and I know I've used this example before, say you have a friend who is troubled. They're going through something. Maybe they need a ride somewhere. Maybe they need some money. Maybe they need something. Maybe they just need some advice or whatever. You have a friend that is going through it and they need some help. So you go and help them because you care, because you want to help them. Not for any weird reason. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe you just feel bad, but whatever. You're helping them because they're your friend. You want to help them. Now, later on, say you're talking to that person and that person who's in a negative mindset already says to you, oh, you only helped me to make yourself look better. You only did that to make yourself look good. You only did that so that I owe you something. Is that really the truth, or is that person's negative perception? So that's what I believe is happening with this white light soul trap. I believe that it is people having a negative perception of something bigger. I do believe that we choose to incarnate, but I think also like you're not going to be forced to incarnate if you don't want to. Now, there is something that came up in Whitley Strieber's The Key. And now the being that is talking to him in that book is not fully explained. Basically, this man comes to his hotel room, wakes him up in the middle of the night, and then starts telling him all this stuff. More stuff than this guy could have known. And by the end, he's still not 100% convinced what this guy is, but he believes that this guy was some type of intelligent machine that maybe was from the future. So it kind of seems as though it was an AI or something that was giving him this information. And this happened in 1996. So it wasn't really this conversation that we have around AI now. But what was said and what has stuck with me was this AI told him something similar to a white light soul trap, but not exactly. But he said, those who don't meditate dissipate because they're so not connected to their consciousness, to their soul, that they dissipate into everything again, and that they don't get to keep this same soul journey. So I don't know. Take that with what you will. I am going to break down that book eventually and get more into that and kind of think more about it. But guys, meditate. It's on. Come on. We're supposed to do that anyway. Someone on TikTok said, imagine how awkward your soul family would feel if they're standing there waiting for you and you just won't go into the light. You know, exactly. Like your whole family is waiting there to greet you and you won't go into the light. And they're like, damn it. He was always so stubborn. You said you're having troubles with meditations lately. That's fine. If you're having trouble meditating, don't judge yourself. Just do the act of doing it, even if it's only 3 minutes. Don't worry. Just keep doing it. You're always going to get better, you know? That just comes with time. So just don't judge yourself if you're having trouble meditating. You meditated a lot as a child and didn't know what you were doing. Same. I definitely didn't know a lot of times when I was just sitting around doing nothing, thinking about everything, that it was meditation. Someone said, what does Risk Cutters refer to? So that's a movie about people who take their own lives. It's a dark comedy, very dark. And basically they kind of are like in the dead version of our world. So there is like, I believe it's the fourth dimension, a lower aspect of the fourth dimension. So then each dimension, they say, has 12 harmonics within it. So the third dimension has 12 levels. The fourth dimension has 12 levels. All the dimensions have 12 levels. So that's why in the third dimension, we will have mineral life, animal life, plant life, and human life all having different experiences in the same dimension because there's different levels within each dimension. So the name of the book that I was just talking about is The Key by Whitley Strieber. So basically, the lower levels of the fourth dimension are close to the high levels of the third dimension. So if we're right now on the 11th or 12th level of the third dimension, that's very close to the first level of the fourth dimension. And that's kind of why we can see ghosts, because these levels are so close to each other. And these are the lowest aspects of the fourth dimension. So some of the other low aspects of the fourth dimension are going to be the dead side, like the people who don't cross over, who don't go back to the spirit world, who they just stay in the dead version of this world, which is basically like if you watch that movie Risk Cutters, I think they have the best portrayal of it because it's kind of like time freezes when they die and then it just deteriorates. So it's kind of just like they're stuck in their time because now they're not experiencing time, like in the movie Beetlejuice. Yeah. You said, didn't Dolores Cannon say that? I've never seen it. I've never seen that. I mean, I've read like 15 of her books, so I've never seen her say, don't go into the light. The only time I hear people say don't go into the light is when they're very into like some of these Gnostic texts. Thoughts on reality shifting. Is it a deeper form of lucid dreaming? Now, I don't know if I would say it's a deeper form of lucid dreaming. I think that's a little bit different. But reality shifting, now that we can do all the time. We can reality shift on a very physical level by making choices every day. We can do it through, they say quantum jumping and stuff like that. I really think the most effective way to reality shift is to make changes in your 3D reality. Some people like to do stuff like quantum jumping they'll do it in like the mirror, or they'll do it in a shower. They do these kind of rituals or like quantum mysticism stuff. I do believe in that stuff, but I believe for me, probably the best way that I would like to do anything, if it's not in my physical world of making real decisions and really doing the tasks that I really need to do, would be I would meditate and visualize my future self that I would like to be. My version of my future self that I would like to be, or maybe the highest version of my future self. And I would try to get a really good visual on that and then connect with that aspect of myself. And, some of the things that you can do is when you see your future self in meditation, even if you make it up, even if it's your imagination, who cares? Don't worry too much about it. See the version of yourself in the future. Maybe see yourself 5 years in the future. How do you want to be? How do you want to be living? Where do you live? What do you look like? What are you wearing? Certain things you can get, like, what are they wearing? This is an easy one that you can bring into this reality. Like, I remember one time I did this exercise and I saw that my future self had a lot of like gold bracelets on. Now, I couldn't just jump 5 years into the future, but I was like, oh, I could get an outfit that's very similar to that, and I can wear something like that, and that will kind of bring that energy. Also, you can do a meditation to connect with your future self and then ask your future self for some advice and write it down. For me, usually the future self usually just reaffirms that you're already doing it. You're already on the path. You're already doing great. But sometimes they will tell you more detailed information. Someone said, do I lucid dream? Not really. I was not much of a dreamer until recently. Part of that was because I had smoked weed for majority of my life, daily up until, right before doing the ayahuasca. So, after the ayahuasca and then no weed anymore has made my dreaming come back. And my dreams they are so ridiculous. It is always like an adventure. It is like, oh, okay, now we got to do this. Oh, and now we got to do this. Oh, this person's coming. Let's go pick them up. Oh, okay, now we have to go here. And it's just always like task after task after task. I'm always doing so many tasks in my dream. It's crazy. Like, I fell asleep on the couch yesterday, and for some reason I was in the Kardashians' kitchen and I was like cutting a zucchini, and then I couldn't find what I needed to cook it. So I'm going through all of their drawers, which felt like 20 minutes of me going through all their drawers. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, my dreams are not super. That's why I had to take off the Moldavite. I had the Moldavite on for a couple days. You guys asked how the Moldavite's going. I needed a break. I woke up from that dream because I was falling asleep all day long, having weird dreams in a theater. Like yesterday, it was like a bunch of like stand-up comedy. It was like ridiculous. Oh gosh, have I ever done salvia? So that was my first viral video that I ever had, by the way, guys. It is private now. It is no longer available on YouTube. But it was my first ever viral video from like 2015. I posted a video talking about my salvia experience. So I will tell you guys that. So I want to start off by saying nobody do salvia. I don't recommend it. 0 out of 10. Please don't. It is not fun. I don't like it. So, so I did this in like 2006. So it was a long time ago. It was during that salvia craze when like it was on Dateline and stuff, when everybody was doing it. When it was like readily available in like smoke shops and stuff. So I had done salvia. Someone's asking, what is salvia? Salvia is a plant. I believe it was originally used for indigenous ceremonies, but then it started getting just like produced and sold everywhere, and everyone was buying it and everyone was smoking it. And it was supposed to be kind of a difference. You said you grow some. Interesting. Yeah. Oh my God, you had 50x and you almost fell in a fire. I would never have done 50x. I think I did 20x. And then the X was about how strong it was, but it's all strong. It's all strong. So, okay, salvia it kind of looks like brown leaves crushed up, ground up, and you smoke it. And now what I had read online back in the day in like the Arrowhead.com days, they said like you have to really get it hot in order for you to get all the effects from it. And you have to smoke it in a bong because in a bong, it cools it down. So you have to get it really hot, like use like basically like a torch lighter. And then it gets really hot, but then it goes through the bong and cools it down a little bit. So my friend did it. It was me and two other people, my two best friends at the time. And I had been friends with them for like 8 or 10 years by that point. And so the three of us are in my new apartment. I was 18 years old. I had just moved into my first apartment. And the three of us are going to do salvia. So we're like, okay, one person do it. The other two people will watch. Then when that person's done, so we had a system just to make sure everybody was safe. And, we didn't want to all do it at the same time. So my friend does it first and she does it like, she kind of smokes it all soft and she's like, oh, whoa, there's lines. Oh, guys, there's lines. And I'm watching her like, girl, you did not even do it right. They said you had to hold it in. But I'm thinking that in my head. So then she 1 minute later is like, oh, wow, that was cool. And I was like, you didn't even do it right here. Like, give me that. I like pack it up and I'm like, come on, I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to show you how to smoke some salvia. Okay. Because of what I read online. So I like get the torch and I'm like, and I'm like, you got to hold it. You got to hold it in. And so I'm holding it and I'm like, and then I see like a swipe come by and I'm like, I start letting it out and I'm like, guys, I just had deja vu. And then it happens again. And I'm like, I just had deja vu again. Wow. And then it happens again. And I'm like, wait, this is weird. So it's like deja vu and then deja vu again. And then again and again and again. And it's like, and it seems almost like it's like a line coming across off my whole vision, like off of reality. It's a line that comes across and is like reprinting on the other side. But also as that line comes across, it also feels like it's coming across my body too. And I feel like I'm getting like reprinted. Now, a lot of other people that I heard online after that said that it almost feels like turning a page, that like pages keep turning and turning and turning. And like this like image is on the same, but it's almost like a flip book. So I'm like, I see it goes. And then I'm like, because I can't stop it. So I kind of throw myself back onto the bed. And then I'm on the bed and it's still happening. Like I'm looking up and it's happening. So then I sit back up again and I am now in a different place. I am no longer in my room. I'm going from like, I'm in the back of a taxi cab. I'm in a bank. Oh, and the worst was the bank because then when the line happened, I went through the little thing underneath the teller and I was like, ow. And then so I start screaming because this hurts. And I'm like, the salvia, I'm in the back, I'm in a grocery store. But it's happening so fast. Like I barely have a moment to like get my grounding of where I am. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, no, oh my God. And so then I'm freaking out. So then I throw myself back again and I go downstairs to my downstairs neighbor's apartment and I fully see them mother, father, and child eating dinner. And I swear that they kind of looked over and I was like, ah! And I like jolt back up and then I'm back in my apartment. And this is like happening so fast. Like literally, I was just like literally like 30 seconds before chilling in my bedroom. And now I'm teleporting everywhere. And so then I look over and I see my two friends, but my two friends don't look like themselves. They look like two aliens. And then I don't know why my reaction is, what, are you just going to fucking watch? You're not going to fucking help me? So I start screaming at these aliens because I feel like these aliens owe me some help and they shouldn't just watch, because then I feel like when they don't help me and they're just watching these aliens, because I didn't recognize them as my friends. I saw them as two straight up aliens. And I'm like, you're just gonna fucking watch? What is this, some experiment or something? And I'm screaming at them. And then I throw myself back again and I'm trying to like, it's starting to slow down a little bit. Like it's not going as fast as it was. And then I'm like, okay. And then I look over, and now what's interesting is my door was different than the door that I had. It was still a door where the door was, but there was like, you know, and like sometimes like a closet door will have those little like blinds, like those little things, like in a closet door. It had that for some reason on the door. So, but everything else was like the same. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, that's it. I need to get out of here. I need to run. I need to go somewhere. And then so I look over at the door to kind of like get my grounding, to like see where I'm going to go to escape this, since these aliens aren't even going to help me. And then I'm like, I look over at the door and then I see a pink laser. This pink laser comes through one of the little grated things, the little blinds in the door that don't even exist on the actual door. This pink laser comes through, and like instantly I realize that's the thing, because it's so painful. Every time this line comes over, it feels like I'm being reprinted again on the other side. So this is happening like every couple of seconds, and it's painful. It feels like tons of little knives everywhere. It hurts to have be reprinted. And so I'm like, I look like for my escape, and then I see the pink laser coming. And now I finally realize, or in my mind, I realize that this is the reason why I'm reprinting. And I'm like, oh no, okay, fuck. Like I need to get away from this damn pink laser. So I get the idea that once the laser reprints me, I'm going to run in that direction, and I'm going to run basically because I kept being in different places. So I figured once I get into one place, I'm going to run as far away from where I am. Oh, and also once I see this pink laser, I'm like, ah, like full blown screaming on the top of my lungs. And then I'm like, ah, and I like get up and just start bolting. Like I kicked the door open. Like, I don't even know, like it was like a shitty door. So like I didn't break it or nothing, it just like popped open. I was like, I kicked the door open and I start running. And then I hear like in the background, my friend, and this was like a 2-bedroom apartment that I had, you know, when rent was cheaper back then. And it was like I hear my friend, it sounded like she was a mile away. She's like, Jen, please, you're tripping. Please, Jen, you're tripping. You smoked salvia, please. And I'm like running. And also, so I cut it. I misjudged it a little bit. When I ran past this laser, I had severed myself in the back. So like a little bit of me didn't get reprinted. So like literally in my mind, I thought that I was exposed. Like I thought that I was printed up until the back of my head was a little bit, the back of my finger, and a little bit of my butt, a little bit of my back had been severed. Because like, imagine if I was like all lines, that like back layer got snipped by the pink laser and was still in the other dimension or whatever. So I'm running, and my friend, she's like, you're tripping. I'm like, I'm severed. And she's like, please, Jen, please, you're tripping. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, I'm tripping. And I pull off all my clothes because I'm trying to see if I'm bleeding. And I'm not bleeding, but I am naked now. And then I start to like realize a little bit. And I'm like, oh God, I'm tripping. She's like, yeah, Jen, you're tripping. I'm like, oh God. This is when I was 18 years old, you know? This is why I don't really, I did the ayahuasca and I will like done mushrooms like 5 times, but like in general, I haven't done anything else since then because I go deep, dude. So then I flushed the salvia down the toilet. I was not going to let my third friend do it. I was like, well, dude, you should have gone second because now I was like in a frantic panic. I'm like, where is that shit? Let me get it. Flush that shit down the toilet. I was like, no one else is doing this. I hate this. So yes, that was my experience with salvia. Now looking back, I do have a little bit of a different perspective because at the time, people would always say like, you know, if you could have one like superpower, what would it be? I would always say teleporting. After that, I don't really say teleporting at all. I don't know what superpower I would have, but that was scary and painful. But then I think about it now with like the information that I have now, and I'm like, was that like multiple realities? Was that like something like shifted in a way? Because I wasn't like in all these different places like that were not practical. I was in the bank. I was in a cab. I was in a grocery store. Like, were these alternate parallel timelines that I was like experiencing and seeing into? And this kind of reprinting, I thought was like this laser doing this. But now what I know about the now, how like there's only the now and, you know, the past is a memory and the future is also just something that we're thinking of. So everything else is a thought. The only thing that exists is the now. And when you look at Marina Jacobi's work about like this quantum universe that we live in, the now is always being reprinted. So every decision you make in the now is what decides these different timelines. So I'll explain that too really briefly for anyone who hasn't already seen that in my Earthshift series. So like a really simple example that she uses is like, say you have a friend that they text you and they're like, okay, I want to go to a club tonight. Let's hang out. Let's go to a club. Now, say you want to see your friend, but you don't want to go to a club. Okay. So you're like, I don't know. So now you have 3 options there. You could say yes and do something that you don't want to do. You could say no and not see them at all. Or you could say, hey, look, I would really love to see you, but I would be more comfortable if maybe we just hung out at home and, you know, had a girl dinner. So you have these 3 options. Now, the first option, you're not being true to yourself because you don't want to go to the club. That other option, you're not being true to yourself because you really do want to see your friend and you miss them. But then you're going to regret not seeing your friend because you don't want to go to the thing. Now, you make that decision that is true to yourself, which is, I would love to see you, but just in a different setting. So each of these are a timeline. So every choice, that's what I go back to the reality shifting, is that every choice is a different reality. And so you have that moment and then it reprints the now, reprints the now, reprints the now. So this is what you mean by like multiple parallel timelines. So like you have 3 options and you give all 3 attention. Those are 3 timelines that could play out in your reality. However, you could pick ones that are not aligned with you because of obligation, which is why we should never be operating in obligation. I know a lot of times we think that we're doing the right thing out of obligation because we don't want someone's feelings to get hurt, or we don't want to not see our friend, or we don't want to miss out or something. But when you do things out of obligation, you're not being true to yourself. So you're not on your highest timeline. You're not on your truest timeline. You're on a timeline now where you decide that other people's choices are more important than mine, or I would rather sacrifice my experiences because I don't want to have a conversation about something. So this is how you get onto your highest timeline. You don't need to do quantum jumping rituals and going in the shower. Like, sure, all of those things help, like doing the shower quantum jumping ritual. It's all over TikTok. People do it in the mirror. They'll do like a mirror ritual. You could do all of these things. Nothing is as effective as speaking your truth and doing what you feel best doing with no obligation. No, oh, this person would this, I should this. Should probably is not your highest timeline. If you're like, I should do this, probably not what you actually want to do. Now, sometimes we should do things that are healthier for ourselves. That gets a little complicated there. But you also have to be true to yourself. So you have to find that balance of being able to enjoy doing the things that are good for you. So sometimes you do have to fake it till you make it on certain things if they really are the good thing for you, like say, stopping drinking or something like that. Like that's something that you should do, but like you don't really want to, but then there's kind of like a higher part of yourself. So each of that is like, not saying 100% of the time, every time you use the word should, you're doing the wrong thing. But when you're doing things out of obligation, you're doing things to be a people pleaser, all of that stuff, you're not really benefiting yourself. Have I told this story before? Probably not that you guys have heard, because I did tell it on YouTube, like 8 or 9 years ago, and it went viral. But that's before YouTube was not anonymous. Like YouTube is not that anonymous now. Like now it's all connected to your Google account and stuff. And it's very easy to find what people say on YouTube. This was back in the Wild West days of YouTube. So it was like people were so brutal. I think that there was like 500 dislikes. And this was when the dislikes were still visible. Now that dislikes are not visible, people don't really click on them as much because they know that it's like going nowhere. Oh my God, there was so many dislikes on the video. People literally were just attacking every single possible thing about me and the experience and everything. And then there was other people, like there was literally people saying they were going to kill me. Like it was just like, this was the old days of social media. Like social media is nasty now. Social media back in the day was real nasty. People are nice on social media now. Oh, the example of the friend and the club. In my Earthshift series, I tell a version of that because that comes from Marina Jacoby's work. Woke up in the clone lab. I don't know if I woke up in the clone lab or, my gray alien friends were trying to help me out. And I was like, you're not going to fucking help me? They're like, what do you think we're doing? Oh, no, I haven't. Have you read History of God by Guy Stephen Needler? Dolores Cannon published his books. No, I haven't. Have I talked to Jake Parsons, 100th Monkey? Yeah, I did a TikTok live with him about a year ago. It's on my YouTube. Bring back the dislikes. To be honest, they don't really serve a purpose. Like, people still get to leave shitty comments all the time, every day of their lives, and be miserable. But I do understand now after the ayahuasca that, people who leave negative comments are very wounded. Recently, no, I said about a year ago, I did that interview with him. Any streaming meditations that you can recommend for manifesting? Yeah, everything by Marissa Peer. I have on my Tuesday Night Live 2 weeks ago, it says how to heal your mind and body completely. There's a whole list of resources for everything, for meditation, manifestation, health, physical health. I'll have to put that on like a website or something. Yeah, you're right. People leaving negative comments, it's just a projection of what they need to work on. there was a standard to uphold. The views uphold it. You think that the dislike button is there, they just don't show you the number. It still does affect the algorithm of TikTok, of YouTube. Someone said, any clarity in your Aya experience when the world might get a little better? I really think it's perspective, because the world has gotten better. The world is literally better than it's ever been in recorded history. So there is a lot of perspective on that. You know, if we're only focusing on the negative aspects of things, then that is going to show us that the world is like in this terrible state. But I mean, the environment right now is reacting to us, but it really is like we really are better than ever, because before, you know, like we basically, most people were enslaved, you know, long before the US ever existed. A third of the population was enslaved in all countries, in all of history, you know, like it was really bad. And like basically it was the monarchy and then absolute poverty, you know, there was not much in between. I don't know what that is. You said, did I use Stickum before YouTube? I don't know what that means. Oh, Marissa Peer's self-hypnosis. Yeah, I love it. She's great. I love Marissa Peer. All of her work is so good. Am I a Reiki practitioner? No. My sister is. You should go and check out her stuff. It's the Self-Care Librarian. Yep, you're right. That's why the media is so powerful, because it shows us this divisive, toxic nature. Very true. Because it focuses obviously only on the negative. And a lot of activism, you know, only focuses on negative and usually doesn't have solutions. Unfortunately, you know, it used to, but now it's really, you know, a lot of people are engaging in activism, you know, as a way to kind of get out some weird bullying tendencies that they have, you know? And, you know, a lot of people are not really looking for solutions of the problems. They just really are addicted to pointing out the problems. But because people are pointing out the problems very loud and vocally, doesn't mean that things are any worse than they have been for all of history. You know, the world was a really messed up place to live up until pretty recently. I mean, even in the 90s, it was still like up until OJ, it was still normal to hit your wife. Like, it wasn't until like the 90s. Like, it's crazy. Like, it was completely normal. You were allowed to hit your wife. That's why when you watch any movie from the 80s and earlier, people literally will smack their wife. And it's like normal. I know. Our parents grew up in a completely different world. Next Tuesday, can I do a meditation? Okay, sure. Okay, so we are about to be done on YouTube. I'll probably stay only like an extra few minutes on TikTok because I do want to eat some food. But I'm going to close out by talking about Stairway to the Stars in Vegas. So November 10th, 11th, and 12th, I'm going to be in Vegas. um, giving a lecture, not performing, giving a lecture on the New Earth and Dolores Cannon's work. I'm going to be giving my lecture on Friday the 10th. So it would be included also with the day pass for that. A bunch of other people are speaking. Elizabeth April is speaking. She also has a workshop. Leo King's going to be there. I believe Whitley Strieber's going to be there. Tons and tons of people. For some reason, I can't think of many. Oh, Sarah Brexman Cosme. She's going to be giving a lecture. Many others, many others. And it'll be a great time. So oh, nice, you'll be there. Cool. I'm excited. Oh, Dolores would be proud. I hope so. Julia Cannon's going to be there. So I'm going to reach out to Julia before then. And with that, hopefully I'll get to meet Julia, maybe get to do a little quick TikTok interview. You guys can get tickets for that. Probably sooner, better than later. If you're already in Vegas, it'll be easy. But if you're going to be traveling, you probably want to act sooner rather than later. Let me see if I can show my... Ah, yes. So here's my new merch. There we go. See, this is the Cosmic Academia line. The new shirts, you can go to the link in my bio and check those out. Shirts, hoodies, crew neck shirts, and sweaters. These are all available in projectjkultra.com. And then we have this declassified aesthetics line. So if you're not too much into the starseed stuff, there are these available. More shirts available. So go to Project JK Ultra to check out the merch. Simpsons predicted this. That's one of my favorites. Altered States of America. The CIA is corny. They sure are. Ufologist. Be the glitch in the Matrix. Okay. Toxic positivity. There we go. LOL. Okay. Make the world a better place for dogs. They deserve it. All right, everybody. See you next Tuesday. Great to see you all. Thank you, everybody. Love you so much. Thank you for being here. When's my birthday? It's August 16th. It passed. And that's that, guys. Thank you for being here. And